Hello, you are watching episode 36 of Women of the Future. Today we will be looking at the freedom of letting go. If you have joined us for the first time, I bid you a very warm welcome. Sister Denise and I are looking at this subject as well as any other subject that is of relevance to the women of today and the women of the future. So, Sister Denise, welcome.
Thank you.
Freedom of letting go. Letting go of what or whom?
Well, there are so many things that we hold on to, including our old selves, a false perception of ourselves, the way other people perceive us that we've internalized. We won't let go of past issues that we just, we think that if we let go, there's something somehow wrong or that we have failed ourselves. But, when we do let go, then we can move on. Because not letting go means we stay, not only just stay in the past, but we stay in the past at the time when that thing happened that we took into ourselves, and the thing that we won't let go of, that also won't let go of us. So we're tied,
Sister Denise, you use the expression false perception of oneself. What does that mean?
Well, we see ourselves based on many, many things that come from the outside to the inside that we internalize. And then with that, we form our sense of self, which can be very skewed. And that's a false perception. To be able to see yourself as you really are is really quite difficult.
And how does one get there? How do you get to that space where you realize this is who I am? You're obviously not referring to an awareness of one's strengths and weaknesses. You're referring to something far deeper, aren't you?
Of course it includes your strengths and weaknesses, but when you develop yourself spiritually, there is an angle on yourself that is the angle of God on yourself. And God will tell you, you are this, you are this, you are this. And the world will tell you something totally different. You are this, you are this, you are this. So who are you going to listen to? Because, to see yourself from the inside is really to see the inside of yourself. But to see yourself from the outside, you have to actually carry yourself outside of yourself and look at yourself from there. So obviously the voice of the world is already outside. In a way, the voice of God is already outside. But to come outside of yourself, look back at yourself and see, this is me. It's always going to be, I think, biased by this or that feeling or assumption or presumption. So to be absolutely neutral in looking back at yourself is, I think, quite a skill.
What would one become if you do that? And why do that?
Well, when people tell you about yourself, they tell you not only what they perceive, but they also speak to you through a filter of their morality. So, for example, if a person is very clever, some people will think that if that person is clever, they must be arrogant as well about being clever. And therefore they'll see them as arrogant first and clever second. And they'll give you the message, you're arrogant, you should be humble. And so then you will kind of step down further and further down from who you really are and end up quite disconnected because of the external voices. And so to be completely independent of all this indoctrination is quite a piece of work.
Okay, Sister Denise, you started off today by saying that we hold on to things and sometimes people for actually no good reason. act of letting go, you touched on this a bit, and I'd like for you to elaborate further. The act of letting go, do we hold on to our weaknesses, or do our weaknesses hold on to us?
I think that our weaknesses, I mean, I'd rather rephrase it and describe our weaknesses as something else. So when the soul is weak, then character defects arise, which I think I would rather just call character defects than weaknesses, because the soul is weak, so the defects arise. When the soul is strong, the defects go away, because they're there because the soul is weak. So you have a character defect. That character defect is also, it has arisen as a coping mechanism to handle some situation that the weak soul couldn't handle. So it gets into coping mechanism, which becomes a false ego, which is called a character weakness, you see. So it's quite convoluted. And in order to get free of it, we have to dissect it and call the things as they actually are. And then to lay it to rest, to forget it, because you know, why do you hold on to it is because it scars you. And scars are indelible. You're very aware of your scars, but when you forget about them, they're not so present. And so I think letting go, forgetting, moving on, not bothering about, allows you to go where you have to go in order to, you can say, return to your original condition before there were ever any scars anyway.
When we're looking at letting go, one doesn't let go of something positive. One lets go of a trauma, past pain, a hurt, a slight, a negative experience. The energy and power it takes to overcome all of this is quite tremendous. Is it within the grasp of the, I hate to say average woman, but you know what I mean?
Well, I think in addition to bad things, sometimes you have to let go of good things that you've lost.
Okay, we'll come to that just now.
Okay.
Let's talk about the dark side.
Because it has scarred you, and it's sort of penetrated your spirit, it's become part of you, you know. So in a way, you have to come to terms with it and then let go. Because as long as you haven't come to terms with it, it rules you.
Okay, what do you mean by that practically? How should your self-talk be to come to terms with it? I know you've touched on this in a previous episode, but in this context, I think it's relevant.
Well, some trauma, okay, it happened. It scarred you. It took away many of your life options and possibilities, and so on and so on. There's a big list of what it did. And so you come to terms with it by going through the process of reaching acceptance. It is what it is, and I'm still here. Now what? You know. So it's like giving yourself permission to start again, and actually recognizing that you have many things at your disposal to help you move on, even though you may have lost a few bits, but it's still okay.
Sister Denise, even though one may have come to terms with one's feelings, as you so rightly described, you know, whether you use therapy or any form of healing, and you have made a conscious and mature decision that you cannot afford to hold on to that any longer. All of this that we're speaking of, the dark experiences in life, the negative ones, it is in one's memory track.
Yeah, but you see, you have an attitude towards it. if you have the attitude that that was bad, maybe it wasn't so bad. Maybe it was the thing that gave you your strength, that formed you, that gave you experience, and so on. All those things are actually good. And so you need to shift the attitude from that was bad to it was what it was, and I'm perfectly able to actually take a lot of profit from it and actually make it as something good, you see. So then my attitude towards it is I embrace it, not I reject it. I include it as part of me, and I move on, not with it as a handicap, but with it as you know, part of my equipment of what I am and who I am. You know, I've included it in myself.
I want to take you back to something that you said in a previous episode, and it was so profound, I'd written it down and I was waiting for the opportunity to pop it up back again. You said, transforming your weaknesses into an opportunity so that your weaknesses are not a handicap. That was mind-blowingly powerful, and I would like you to tell our female viewers what it means to do that. We have women watching us right now who have been through absolute and total hell, who have had experiences that no human being should have, who were violated in the most despicable fashion, not just once but more than once. So how do you do this?
One of the things you do is to rephrase it to yourself. Say, okay, this happened and I'm here. You can say, I was present when this happened. I observed it happening. I experienced it happening. And it is like ingredients for me to make something out of it, you know, because I'm a spiritual being. That was a physical activity or event or incident, you know. And it is possible for me to take it and use it in any way that I want, because I'm a creator. You know, and a creator can use any items in his or her creation. If you want really fragrant roses, you have to put manure on them.
Okay.
So, you know, the thing is, our conventional morality, which I call toxic, keeps us in the mentality that, you know, the physical reality of the horrific event has no other identity than that and cannot be used for anything else except to say how horrific it was. You know, that's how we see things. Now, in order for us to work with that, we have to change our whole angle of vision and say, okay, it was a horrific, etc., whatever event, and I can use it. And I can use it to enrich myself, and I can transcend it, and I can turn it around, I can transform it. I have that power, so let me use it. Because this is going to enable me to understand, be compassionate and helpful for other people who have passed through the same thing.
So on the level that you just described, do you deal with your thoughts or your feelings? The reality of being violated as an adult or child, for the women watching you, is that in addition to the traumatic event, you're left with thoughts that are reactionary, as well as feelings, as well as attitude, as well as fear.
As long as you don't do anything with it. But once you start doing something with it, it changes.
Does this entail talking yourself out of the pain?
No, you don't talk yourself out of pain. You take the thing, you work with it. It's very individual for each particular event and so on. But you work with it using the power of spirituality and so on until it has become something else. You change, you know, like you've heard of frogs into princes or something like this, you know. There's a metamorphosis involved. It is very extraordinary how a person can change from an old, dead body to a newborn baby. But that's what happens every time somebody dies. You know, that's what happens. And so an event like this, there's a lot of people who have been through horrific events. There's huge amounts of these events that go on. And these are capable of being transformed, of being transcended. Now, it's a matter of going into yourself and getting the tools and finding the strength to actually do that creative work. So when the world says this event is nothing more or less than this event, they're giving you a very limited view of it. It's capable of being transformed into something else.
In order to start on this journey, at some point the woman in question has to make a very firm and conscious decision, doesn't she?
Well, you know, what we're talking about is the future, the present, the past. Now, usually what happens is the past gets repeated, and made a little bit worse every time until we get as bad as it can go. Once you hit bottom, you can't go any further down. You have to turn around and go up. And I'm talking about that, you know. And there are countless people who have hit bottoms and who have carried their strength together and lifted themselves out of it. This is not a brand new thing, you know, that I'm just inventing here. It's already been done a bit. I'm just saying, let's do it. And let's make it normal to do it instead of really unusual.
It may not be brand new, but for many it's unheard of. Because women find it impossible to recover from a trauma.
Well, you can say probably most women have so far found it impossible. But if you have the tools, the examples, the inspirations and so on and so forth, and you use them, why wouldn't you?
What is the result of having let go? What does it make you? What do you become? Where's the you know, show us what is the butterfly from the caterpillar?
This is the thing you have to let go of, is the idea that you can't recover from a trauma. That's what you have to let go of. And once you stop that, there's unlimited possibilities, unlimited. It can turn into its total opposite. It has that within itself. It's all a matter of looking at it that way, you see, and moving through it. And maybe it takes you your whole life to do it, but that's a worthwhile thing to do for your life, you know, because you become one of the most creative, one of the most honest, one of the most clear people there is. People who do that end up really extraordinary human beings, very real people, you see. And if that's what it takes to become that, then so be it. You see, because you can't just say, oh, this thing happened, therefore I'm knocked out of the game. No, not at all.
The trauma may have happened on one level, but the effect of the trauma may have touched the woman on various levels.
Oh, it'll touch her on every level, which means that she will transform on every level, which takes 50 years, 60 years, 70 years, or however old she ends up as at the end of her life. She will use her whole life to continue to work on different parts of herself and transform herself. This is creativity. And you are your own masterpiece.
Wow, if you put it like that, it sounds breathtakingly beautiful, I must say. Okay, Sister Denise, you have mentioned the role of the divine in almost everything that you say. How does God help one in letting go and taking one into freedom? How does he do that? How does she do that?
Well, God is the creator, and God takes the worst and makes it into the best. God takes the world from hell to heaven. That's creativity. That's the function of God, to create something absolutely stunningly beautiful out of something that was totally rejected and awful. And that is your mentor, that God, that goddess. And what God does, you as a child of God do likewise. And I think God shows you exactly how to do that. So the steps through which you must pass, this is the teachings of God. How you transform yourself from, a sinner to a saint, from rejected to sublime, all of these pairs of opposites. This is what God deals in, and you just allow yourself to be mentored in that way, and you come out really beautiful, smelling like a rose.
Sister Denise, is this a daily effort? Is this a aspect of human development where you can say that you actually completed this journey? How would you know when you have arrived, when you have let go of the minor things that happened to you in the past that you want to let go of, or the major things? What again, I want to go to the end result. What is it that you become?
Well, you started talking about massive traumas, so that's different from minor little things.
Yes, it is.
But anyway, a massive trauma leaves a massive impact, and you just continue to evolve through your whole life. It's your life work. You may do it more intensively at some times, more quietly at other times, but it's always with you. And when you've completed your life, you've completed your life work, which is yourself. So you've arrived at the end of your life.
What is the reason that someone chooses pain over peace?
I think the relationship with pain. You can't really find peace until you work through your relationship with pain, until you surrender with pain, or surrender to pain.
What does that mean, to surrender to pain?
Surrender to pain, take me.
It already has taken you.
It's fighting, you're fighting.
Wait, hold on, you lost me. Currently, if you have pain, it means that you're fighting the pain.
Always fighting with it. You're fighting with drugs, you're fighting with, you go crazy over it, this, that. You do everything to destroy the pain. Surrender to the pain, and you, as if you fuse with the pain, and the pain leaves you. And it leaves you with a legacy of wisdom. You have transcended your pain by surrendering to it. And this is a very good way to handle difficult things.
You're referring to physical pain, psychological pain, emotional pain, mental pain,
financial pain, social pain, many, all.
All the pains.
All the pains.
You make friends with it and say, I surrender to you.
Yeah, pain is the greatest teacher.
Sister Denise, how feasible is all of this?
Well,
it's a shock to sit here and listen to you talk like this, because it's a very exceptional woman who's able to achieve this. You have, but well, that answers my question. But
no, but the thing is this: you have pioneers who do something, and the first time something is done, it's exceptionally difficult. But then it opens up a gateway, and everybody else passes through, and then it becomes feasible, because you know how, you know the detail. Just somebody has to cut the jungle, you know.
So it takes one person to do it, and that's an inspiration for others to follow.
Well, it opens up the pathway, you know, and in the work of women's empowerment, women's emancipation, and so on, there are many women who had to surrender their lives in the process, but that opened up the way for many others in so many causes, not just only the cause of women, the cause of different kinds of freedom that has been gone on in the world, you see men and women who have laid down their lives for that ideal, for that aim, and that has opened up the way for others. That's sacrifice.
Okay, Sister Denise, we've come to the end of today's show. Is there anything that you would like to leave us with before we say goodbye to you? Today was a very loaded topic, very, very loaded. You've given the viewer a lot of food for thought.
I think what I would say is, no matter what has happened to you, it's there in a way for a reason, and you can go there and take that and transform it into something that's really strengthening, beautifying, and that makes you rich and real. Do it for yourself.
Well, there's not much more to be said. Sister Denise has presented this topic in a very beautiful package with a bow on top, and her last words were freedom. Freedom.
Do it for yourself.
Freedom. Do it for yourself. I really wish you all the best on your journey of becoming free and doing it for yourself. Take care. Goodbye.